Here's a question worth sitting with. What happens to the way you work when the AI starts writing and improving itself? Because it's not a hypothetical anymore. More than 80% of the code at Anthropic, the company behind Claude, is now written by Claude itself. Their engineers are merging 8 times as much code each day as they did in 2024. The AI is building the next version of the AI. And a Google system beat a maths record humans hadn't cracked in over 50 years. This is the thing people have speculated about for 60 years, finally showing up in the data. By the end of this, you'll know how big a deal it really is, and exactly what to do about it. Let's get into it. Start with the idea, because it has a name and a long history. Back in 1965, a mathematician named I.J. Good, who'd worked with Alan Turing breaking wartime codes, described what he called an intelligence explosion. The argument was simple. Build a machine smart enough to design better machines, and it designs a better version of itself, which designs a better one again, and the process runs away from you. He called that first machine the last invention that man need ever make. For 60 years, it stayed a thought experiment. It isn't one anymore. The modern term is recursive self-improvement, an AI good enough to design and train its successor, which designs the next one, faster each time, without a human stepping in at every turn. We are not there yet. For now, humans still set the direction and the models do the building, just far faster. But the trajectory is what's startling. An independent research group called METR measures how long a task an AI can finish on its own. That length had been doubling about every 7 months for years, and has since sped up to every 4. Anthropic's own numbers agree. On the hardest open-ended problems, Claude's success rate jumped to 76%, up 50 points in 6 months. Then, there are the moments that surprise even the researchers. In one stretch, Anthropic's AI shipped over 800 fixes that cut a class of errors 1,000-fold. Work the overseeing engineer reckoned would have taken a human 4 years. And Google DeepMind built a system called AlphaEvolve that doesn't just write code, it invents algorithms. It found a way to multiply a certain size of matrix in 48 steps, beating a method mathematicians had relied on since 1969. Here's the kicker. That same system now improves the things that run AI. It recovers, on average, 0.7% of all of Google's computing power worldwide by scheduling jobs better. And it sped up training for Google's own Gemini models. The AI is optimizing the data centers and training pipelines used to build the next AI. That's the loop, in production, today. And this isn't one lab hyping itself. Microsoft says AI writes 20 to 30% of its code. Google says over 30. Anthropic's 80 is just further down a road the whole industry is on. So why does this land on your desk? Start with the sheer scale of it. A job one engineer estimated would have taken a human 4 years got done in a single stretch. A Google system clawed back 0.7% of the company's entire worldwide computing fleet just by scheduling jobs smarter. Effectively, a data center's worth of capacity, found by software. This isn't a marginal productivity bump. It's a step change in how much a single team can do. And since the way software gets built is changing shape, a few consequences follow directly for you. The first is where your bottleneck moves. When the machine writes most of the code, your scarce resource stops being how fast people type and becomes how well they review and verify. Anthropic found that an automated AI review of every change would have caught about a third of the bugs behind past incidents on its own product before they shipped. So the smart investment shifts toward review capacity, better tests, better guardrails, people who can judge output at volume, not toward cranking out more lines. That feeds into what your people are actually for. The lasting human advantage, in Anthropic's own words, is seeing the bigger picture and thinking beyond the immediate task. The valuable skill stops being, can you write the function, and becomes, can you frame the right problem, and can you tell when the answer is quietly wrong? If you hire or train, build toward architects and reviewers, not just implementers. Next, it resets what's even worth automating. A year ago, have the AI fix a 1,000-fold bug across the code base, or optimize our data center scheduling, sounded like a research demo. Now they're real workloads. It's worth looking again at the slow, expensive, human-heavy jobs on your roadmap. Migrations, performance tuning, vulnerability sweeps, and asking which are now candidates for a supervised AI agent. And security cuts both ways, hard. The same capability that finds vulnerabilities to patch finds them to exploit. Anthropic had one model turn up more than 10,000 high and critical severity vulnerabilities across major systems in a matter of weeks. Machine speed scanning of your code and infrastructure is moving from nice to have to baseline, on the assumption attackers have the same firepower. One caution to hold alongside all this: when a vendor quotes you 4 times more productive, that came from a specific team on specific work. The trend is real. The exact multiplier for your stack isn't guaranteed. Pilot before you reorganize around it. There's a reason Anthropic published all this, and it isn't a victory lap. Their warning is that if AI starts genuinely designing its own successors, the pace could outrun our ability to govern it. And they go as far as calling for verification systems that would let the world credibly slow or pause frontier development if it ever had to. That's a striking thing for a frontier lab to ask for. Governments are only starting to build that machinery. In Australia, the government stood up an AI Safety Institute backed by $29.9 million to test advanced models and advise regulators. But the National AI Plan chose voluntary guidance over mandatory rules for now. The capacity to test is being built. The power to enforce isn't there yet. If your compliance roadmap touches AI, that's the gap to watch. So, back to the question we opened with. How big a deal is this? Big enough that the lab out in front of it is asking governments for a way to hit the brakes, and big enough that it should change what your team works on next. So what do you actually do about it? 4 things. First, shift investment from writing code to reviewing it. The tooling, the tests, and the people who can verify AI output at scale. Second, retrain your team's profile toward problem framing and judgment, not just implementation. Third, take a fresh look at the big, slow jobs on your roadmap and ask which are now candidates for a supervised AI agent. And fourth, treat AI speed security scanning as a baseline, because your attackers already do. Here's the line to remember. For 60 years, a machine that improves itself was a thought experiment. It's now showing up in production metrics at more than one company. The machine that builds the machine is already running, and your job isn't to stop it. It's to stay the one with a hand on the wheel. That's Daramatic. We cover AI and IT every week, practically, for the people doing the work. If that's useful to you, like and subscribe. It genuinely helps us reach more IT pros. See you next time.